starting to feel like spring, so it's time to do a Dutch-inspired floral. And I make a list of the possible flowers that I might want to use, going from large, medium and small and varying their shapes. I'm going to go with a classic bowl shape cut out of folded paper, so I'm going to just lightly draw around it. I want my flowers to come up and then sort of cascade downwards in a lush asymmetrical fall, so I draw a very light pencil shape to describe that movement. We can have some fritillary coming up to here, a smaller shape, another tulip coming to over here, maybe another one over here, perhaps some fritillaries falling down here, and we'll fill in with some primroses. Doesn't have to be too exact, but you have to have a plan of action. If I look at this now critically, I see these two are about the same size, which I don't want. So maybe I'll just vary the shape of the hydrangea a little bit more and drop it down just a tiny bit. So the wonderful thing about a Dutch floral is that we don't have to be too specific. We can mix spring and summer flowers. We can put in whatever we want. I try to keep my pencil lines very light so that I can paint over them. And anything that I think I don't need, I'm just going to erase at this point. It's helpful to keep our border line in up until the last moment so that we get a nice shape and we stick to it. I want to get most of my flowers in just very loosely, and then I'll add some detail. So I'll start with my hydrangea over here, my big one. I'm going to put a nice anemone just up a little bit over here, so in go the petals. So next come the tulips. And it's nice to have the tulips pointing in different directions. We'll have a pale pink tulip coming up here and another coming down here just at the very bottom, so we have a nice droopy stem. And it's really fun to do because you can just basically suggest the shape, and the colors are so rich and beautiful. So we'll have another sneaking in down here. Now we want a different shape, so I'm going to put in some fritillaries, which are some of my favorite flowers. I love this shape and this color, and we can just tuck them in, and notice how they're smaller. These are going to be our medium flowers. For our very small flowers, we're going to put in some bluebells. Again, more bell shapes, just slightly different shape. Grape hyacinths would be a great alternative for this too. And finally, I'm going to fill in some of these spaces with some pale yellow and make some primroses. So just sort of a small generic shape. So I'm just dotting in some of this pale yellow, sort of a circle in some of these areas just to fill in the shape. Take a green and start to put in some of the stems. And all of the stems have to basically come out of the vase. So you don't have to be too specific with your stems, but you do want to make sure that they all originate, or they could in theory originate, from the vase. And we're going to add just 1 or 2 sprays of leaves just to fill out and go to the edge of our shape. So we'll add some more detail when everything is dry, but for now I just basically want to fill everything in and get a nice shape. We'll put some darker touches in at the center because we've got lots of stems and lots of leaves converging, and we don't want any gaps. I think at this stage I might just slim down my vase a little bit, so I'm just going to prune. So I recut my template and I draw around it for the second time. And I'm going to take my eraser and just clean up those extra lines. The background is strictly optional, but if it's a Dutch still life, it should really have a dark one. So I'm mixing up quite a lot of background colour. And I am going to paint around the vase and around the flowers, taking in mind my pencil outline as my guide. So I'm not going actually right up to everything. I'm just leaving like a millimeter of space because I think it looks fresher. And I'm going to go round and paint in this background. So here you have your lovely Dutch style floral with the asymmetry. I've got a little hole in there which I'm going to fill in. We're going to add some details to the vase and some details to the flowers. I love these stripy parrot tulips, so I'm going to put in some dramatic stripes. And also on the pink tulips. And it's basically just a quick stroke. We're going to paint in some of our hydrangea. And again, it's sort of 4 petals just loosely dotted in. We'll take a darker blue and we'll define those bluebells. For some drama, we'll take some blue-black and make a nice center for our anemones. We'll take a little splash of darker purple and just brighten up this front one. A little bit of pink on this back one. Tiny touch of green in the center of some of these primroses. For the vase, I'm going to stroke in some sort of light grey blue just to give it some shape. I don't want to make it too important because I want the flowers to really sing. When my base is dry, I'll paint a pattern on it. I'm going to brighten up some of the green, and then your beautiful Dutch floral is pretty much done. I strengthen the green just with a flick, one or two quick strokes. Just a little pattern on the vase. So my final finishing touches involve making the vase even a tiny bit smaller, darkening up the center of the anemones to give them a little bit more punch, and extending a couple of the bluebells onto the grey border and a couple of leaves onto the border. So there you have it, a wonderful fast floral, just right for spring. I can't wait to see what you do.